So today we're gonna do a review on Jaws because I just saw the re-release a few weeks ago. So we're just gonna talk about the original Jaws film by Steven Spielberg, and I'm gonna assume that you've already seen it, like me. You've probably seen it 100 times over the years, so I'm sure you already know what it's about. But what I'm gonna talk about is why Jaws works so well, and why it kind of created like monster movies and kind of pushed it to the mainstream. So what Jaws does so well, if you look at the first scene when they're on the beach and the girl gets killed by the shark, is that it sets up a very natural look of like a small town, and it does really good at making the people seem natural to that time period. And so when that girl gets killed, even though you don't know her that well, you really kind of feel bad because, I mean, it was just a couple of people trying to have some fun, a couple college kids, school break, trying to have fun, and then she gets killed by the shark, just by swimming. It seems natural because the acting and also the feel of that shot and the vibe of that little community on the beach just seemed like it was just happening. It didn't seem like pushed, overacted, over dramatized. It was just a simple two kids on the beach. So that right there, and also the way she got killed, the trick photography of her moving back and forth was just a perfect way. I mean, you don't see anything of the shark. All you do is just see the strength of it moving this young girl around. So it automatically starts off, the mystery of what this thing could look like or how big the shark could be. And then it moves on to Agent Brody. And what I like about him and the dynamic of his character is that he's kind of out of place in this town. I mean, he's from New York. He's dealing with real crime, and what you can relate to with this character is that he is. We've all felt kind of like out of place in certain areas or certain decisions that we make, and his character kind of shows that. Like he's confident and he's trying to like maintain this town, but he's afraid of water. He's never dealt with anything like this before. No one in the town has ever dealt with anything like this in their lives. But his character just seems like he's trying to kind of just move all these pieces of the mayor and his wife, the kids. They just moved there. They're kind of unsure about how to deal with this. Now he has to deal with the politics of the mayor and also the people that are trying to get the shark. But what you can relate to is, if anyone's ever grown up in a small town or just your personal town in general, you see the dynamics of people when it comes to dealing with fear. And also the casting of all the townspeople seem organic. Like none of the characters were either too young, too old. It was a mixture of people like you would normally see in a town. You got the kids running around, you got the adults running around, you got different types of people, like older, bigger, smaller. So the casting was done very well. And that's a big problem with a lot of modern horror films, is that they mess up the casting a lot of times. It has to the story has to be taken seriously for when the things happen, like the violence or when the shark starts to kill people, you actually care. Like those small scenes in the beginning when the woman's son gets killed. You see her kind of like, she seems like that aunt you used to have that want to make sure you got sunscreen on, and she just looks really realistic to like a small town lady. And so when her son gets killed by the shark, that little interaction she had with her son on the beach about putting suntan lotion on and stuff, and how you shouldn't be in the water because your hands get all prumy. That is something we've all dealt with our moms and aunts, and it's a very relatable. Like Spielberg made the movie relatable to your family and the towns we grew up in. So he did a really good job, just like kind of like Stephen King, where they make it relatable first and then they scare you. It has to be relatable. You have to relate to these characters in order for the shark or whatever monster you have in your movie, if you want it to be effective. And that's what Jaws is the master of. Jaws is the master of making everything seem realistic, organic, and relatable. So every person that gets killed, all of a sudden you feel not only for that person, but you can only imagine what their family feels like or how a town would be traumatized by that. So Jaws does a very good job with that. So when the first lady's son dies, you automatically get shaken up. And then all of a sudden when the movie continues and all the politics get involved, you can understand kind of why all these characters, their motivations are very realistic. And I know like a lot of people like, they get kind of, I guess the mayor would be considered like maybe a villain to some people. But even his character is very relatable. He's dealing with a summer town who, like when he says he needs summer dollars, and like those towns survive all across those coasts when it comes to the summers. If the summers don't spend money, a lot of those towns will fall apart. So you can he's like a very relatable character. I mean, even though, his flaw really is he's willing to expense lives, you can see the amount of pressure he has to keep a town alive, and how denial of keeping that business, all those businesses alive, can make you selfish, can push you to doing the things that he kind of did. Like he was in denial, and they did a really good job of showing that, and they did a really good job at showing all the dynamics of the mayor and the three main characters when they go after the shark, of kind of what they're dealing with and why their motivation is so strong in the movie, because they're trying to save lives in a situation where the town could go bankrupt. I mean, the shark is attacking the town. The shark is attacking the money of the town. The economy of the town is being stalled by the shark because it's a beach town, and it's based off of people swimming and having fun over the summer, so everything can last on through the year. So the dynamic of the Jaws is such a powerful movie, is because you're not just getting it's not just terrifying you in the water. The shark is terrifying the livelihood of hundreds of people. And so when you're watching it, I mean, you can really see all these things, and there's so many little dynamics, and it's kind of shown as a monster movie. But when you take a monster movie seriously, with not just the main characters, but with the side characters, I mean, there's so many characters in this movie that you just remember. All these little characters, all these little business guys, I mean, you kind of can see how terrifying that would be. So the dynamics of all these characters are what really plays Jaws to be a terrifying movie. I mean, yes, the shark is done very well. Yes, I mean, we could talk all day about the electronics of the shark, and how like Spielberg did a really good job at making it scary by not showing it to the point where, I mean, you don't see the shark in its full until pretty much the end of the movie. But what I'm trying to really explain why Jaws works so well is because of the writing. is because of all the sitting down, and I've watched a lot of documentaries on it, and you really, have to sit down and have people tell you, like, there were so many ideas they had from the original book that they were going to put in there, and then they had ideas that they thought might be interesting. But until you have people in your group when you're making a film, not too many people, but enough people to kind of tell you that this doesn't work, that doesn't work, this should work more, you're going to have a messy movie, not unless you have honest people around you. Because I've heard a lot of stories of ideas that even Spielberg had that were thrown out by certain people that were working on the production that wouldn't have worked. And then when I've heard about the ideas that he had, I was like, yeah, that wouldn't have, I forget what the ideas were, but when you hear it, you're just kind of like, well, that wouldn't have worked. Because like when you watch Jaws, there's not one scene that you're just like, oh, that's unnecessary. A lot of movies now, you watch and you're just like, well, that scene could have been cut out, or that scene, could have been pushed longer, or maybe 20 minutes could have been cut out. But with Jaws, when you watch it over and over and over again, you're just like, not one character didn't work, not one shot didn't work. And the movie, like the last, 25 minutes of the movie when they go after the shark, is a perfect example of every piece working. I mean, they waited until the end of the movie to get the movie really going. And you don't care about none of that because the build-up to when they actually go after the shark is justified because it goes for his family. Now it's personal. And so when they go off to actually go after the shark, you're feeling the weight of the town, of every single person who lost someone from the shark, and also from the main character who now it becomes even more so personal because now it came for his son. So all those dynamics are being pushed to the last 25 minutes, and that's why that last 25 minutes is so done so well, is because all that weight is in that, and you are rooting for these three guys to actually get this shark, and they push it so well. The last 5 minutes when it builds up to Agent Brody shooting the tank in the shark's mouth, that last 5 minutes is literally the perfect cherry on the top of a film, because the shark has pushed them to the end, terrorized the town, killed multiple people in the town. It's destroying the economy of their little town, like I said. It made it personal. Now it's destroying the boat. The boat is sinking. It's drawing them out more to the ocean. It's driving the captain of the ship insane of his past of the World War II era. It's breaking out there's so many dynamics of history, and it's pushing all this into a simple monster movie. So more movies need to take Jaws to heart. It's a movie that should be studied for any any kind of monster movie that you're making. You should understand not the monster itself mainly, but the dynamics of the characters that really lighten the shark or your monster, whatever the monster may be. But it has to be taken seriously. That's why there's never been no better shark movie than Jaws. They've made plenty of shark movies or those type of movies, but why is it that Jaws, after all these years, still holds the top? It's because Spielberg took the writing and the characters seriously. I'm going to be saying this in my reviews all the time when I review more of these movies. But Jaws should be studied for all filmmakers, especially if you're into horror, because you know what? Jaws is not really a dark movie. Jaws is it's a fun movie to watch, even though there's terrifying things that happen. I watch it all the time because I'm just entertained by the film. The vibe of the town and the characters are just so much fun to watch. That everybody's very likable. You kind of want to move to that town, like you want to, you're as you're watching it, you're feeling kind of envious of the people. I mean, it's just a fun little town. It seems like a fun town to grow up in. So that's why I believe that Jaws is done so well. And this is kind of like my review, kind of spiel about it. And I'm going to do a second part maybe. But I just wanted to clear out why Jaws is so good. I own it on Blu-ray. I mean, I had to go see the re-release. And it's just one of, if not one of the best movies ever made, or definitely one of the best horror movies ever made. And it's still, like when I saw it in theaters, it still holds up today. Like, I mean, I saw it with a pretty big crowd, and everybody, I forgot how funny it was. Like, there was laughed out moments. There was people in the theater that were laughing. It was really cool at parts where I used to laugh at, to be in the theater and have other people laugh with me. And the